Oh, good.
Well, good morning and thank you everyone for being here. Thank you especially to these 5 wonderful panelists who have been such fantastic students to work with currently and in past semesters. Can't wait to share their work with you. So my name is Lindsay Freeman and I'm the internship coordinator for a handful of programs who are MEIF funded. So students are paid through USM for internships with external host sites. And actually, we have several positions open for the spring semester with applications due this Thursday. Encourage you to check those out on our website if you are interested and would like to explore something for the spring semester. Hopefully, the things that these students share will inspire you. So that's enough about me. I would love to have each of our panelists introduce themselves, first name, major, year, and where you did your internship, the host site location, and your position title. So we can start with Haley.
Okay, I'm Haley Duval. I'm a junior in the human biology department. And I had my internship at the QC2 lab, which they stationed me in Lewiston at Baxter Brewery. And what was my lab title? I was a lab assistant.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you. Cool.
Hi, my name is AJ Courtney. I'm currently a graduate student at the Muskie School of Public Service. I'm doing my internship currently with the Cumberland County Food Security Council, and I study supply chains for halal goat meat in the state of Maine.
Hey, I am Travis Bellows. I am an alumni. I graduated in 2018. I did my internship through Element Technologies in Lewiston, Maine, where I was a process engineering intern.
Hi, my name is Iman Mohammed. I am currently finalizing my capstone project, and I intern at Project Login, a program of Educate Maine. And as of currently, looking for work and finishing school.
Hi, I'm Jacob Seeger. I just graduated in 2022 with a degree in human bio. I did my internship at Maine Health Institute for Research, and I was a lab assistant within the lab of Dr. Lucy Liao.
Perfect. Thank you. And next, could you talk a little bit about what you did in your internship and how it related it to your major or program? And maybe we can do the reverse. So starting with Jacob.
Okay. So our lab was specifically looking at obesity and how it impacts the progression of cardiovascular disease. So I mainly worked underneath a graduate student and helped her with her project and just kind of learned the ins and outs of working within an academic lab setting. And it was just really interesting to get that hands-on experience that I learned about in like our specific lab classes and lectures, and just see how that applied to biomedical research in general.
I was a communication and outreach intern at Project Login, and our objective was to advance computer science education in K-12. So we did that through a lot of different initiatives, like we did over my internship, we worked on planning and organizing a number of coding summer camps for middle school girls and high school girls. And we created different clubs throughout different schools in the States for girls to get together and learn how to code. I attended many different panels. I did a lot of market research and creating partnerships with different companies to advance our goals.
Awesome. So in a nutshell, for my internship, I drove a capital project to help consolidate granular material into metal tubes better, so they would have a homogeneous or consistent density along the ingots, so that when we process them in our machine shop, it would be easier to process them, as well as form them into shapes, tools, etc., as well as validating process specifications for processing the material upstream through our manufacturing plant.
Okay, so for my project, currently the Cumberland County Food Security Council has a grant to essentially help increase access to culturally preferred foods as a form of helping with the issue of food security in Maine. So the research that I focus on is it's like very broad. That's a very broad topic. So we condensed it down to halal food, specifically halal meat, which is something that isn't really produced in the state of Maine. It's often imported or brought in from other states. And so for our project, we thought it would be interesting to focus specifically on goat meat, as that's a very popular type of halal meat, and just tracing the food system from production all the way to supply in local markets. And so I guess how that relates to my degree program, in policy planning and management, we focus on like systemic issues. It's very, very broad. But one of those issues that we focus on is food security. And it's one of my passions. And so it's just a really interesting and very specific project to focus on. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So my internship, I was through the QC2 lab, which is through the chemistry department. My big project, my main project over the summer was to develop a standard for the amount of dissolved oxygen in Baxter's canned beers. So to do that, I got to do a lot of microbiology, taking aseptic samples, plating, incubating, and analyzing. I got to use a lot of different lab instruments, which was super cool. And a lot of data analysis. So using Excel to analyze all my data, and I eventually was able to produce the exact value that the dissolved carbon dioxide and dissolved amount of oxygen in the canned beer should not exceed. And that just produced a more standard, consistent product and extended the shelf life of Baxter's canned beer.
Neat. Well, thank you all. So in your internship, would you describe briefly what your first day was like, just settling in? And we can do the same thing reverse there.
Okay. I was actually really nervous going into my first day of my summer internship, thinking, I feel like I just signed my life away. I hope this is okay. And it was actually amazing. I got an entire tour of the facility. So even though I was only in the lab mainly, I got to walk through the whole process of what it's like to brew beer. And I got to meet everyone face to face, shake hands. And yeah, it probably took about like a week to settle in and meet everyone. And then we started cranking.
Yeah. Nice.
So my internship is fully remote. CCFSE doesn't have a location. And my project work is incredibly self-directed. So my first day was essentially just orienting myself to the topic. It just included a lot of background research. My first couple of weeks were just extensive background research on like pretty much any topic that I could think of on supply chains and halal meat, and a lot of meetings with people that work in just local food security efforts, to try and figure out where I should direct my research focus. I've been in my internship since January 2022, sorry. And so it's been almost a year of just mostly self-directed research, which has been really liberating and fun.
First day, I'm getting lost a bunch. Our manufacturing plant is pretty huge. I don't know exactly how big, but other than orientations, you know, with IT, quality, the manufacturing division, specifications, other than orientations, just getting used to the plant. It's a union shop, so understanding how it runs between operators and management was crucial. So they had me just go and meet the floor, make as many connections as you can. So whenever you want to drive a project, it's easier to get done.
My internship was hybrid, and my first week, the The company, Educate Maine, it's a nonprofit organization, so there's different programs underneath it. And so first week was just getting familiar with what the different programs do and how all those work kind of correlate with each other. So there were about 6 people in the organization, so it was really like very family-like and just getting to know people and what they do and stuff like that. So it was very nice.
My first day started off pretty quickly because I had to join a lab meeting like right when I got there. So that was a little stressful. But it was a lot of background research for me as well, just because I had to look at the project of the whole lab and then also look at the project of the PhD candidate that I was working under and figure out how I was going to orient myself to all this information that they already had so I could help build using the data collection that they wanted me to use. And I remember being really nervous about like what I was going to wear or like where the bathroom was and stuff like that. And it was all really silly, but like after the first day, I felt a lot better because I knew all that stuff.
That's great. Thank you. So on that, do you have any words of advice for other students considering internships and how they might prepare or manage those potential challenges?
I'd say probably just like ask. I was really nervous to ask because I thought everyone would think that I was silly or like didn't know anything, but they were all really understanding. And I would just ask my supervisor, I was like, hey, what should I wear the first day? And she was really open about it. And then when I got there, I was just like, where's the bathroom? And so that would be my main advice.
Great, thank you.
I guess my main advice would be, even though in a lot of internships, it is a professional setting, I feel like it's sometimes nice to remind yourself that the people you're going to interact with are just humans like you. So to not be so nervous and so afraid to ask questions and get to know them more, and really emphasize building a relationship with people, I feel like will help you go a long way.
I would say from a STEM perspective, you got to be able to use common sense. It's not everything you do in the STEM field is not straight from a book. It's not always all theory. So you got to know when to tap in on your common sense side of things and apply, some basic knowledge regardless of the subject.
So I'm coming into this, my work is like fully self-directed. And even though that, means I have a lot of freedom, it also means that can come with some complications in terms of scheduling my own work and making sure I know what to do on each day. So I would say if you're looking to do something that, is a lot more in line with self-directed work, make sure that you are in pretty frequent communication with whoever your advisor is, that they know what you're doing and that you set benchmark goals for yourself, and sort of like schedule hours in the day for your own work, because nobody's going to do it for you. But once you have that down, it's actually a pretty wonderful way to go. Yeah.
So my internship was also very independent. And it was also my first time seeing a lot of the lab equipment that I needed to use. So my biggest piece of advice would to always carry a notebook. I got introduced to all of the lab equipment within my first week, and I am very glad that someone gave me this piece of advice before I went in, because I was able to take very detailed notes on every piece. So that way, when they said, okay, now it's your turn, I don't have to ask them all the same questions that they already told me because I don't remember. I can just reference my notes, and I feel like that reflects well.
Absolutely. Yeah. All really, really good advice. Thank you. So one more biggest highlight of the experience.
Okay, this one came immediately. So the president of Baxter Brewing is a woman, and she is in a super male dominated industry. And I noticed that everyone in the company that I interacted with had a huge amount of respect towards her. So I think what I got most out of my internship was having her as like a role model. And I got to sit down with her for a bit and just get some of her tips and advice on what it's like to be in her shoes. So that was definitely the highlight of
That's
mine.
huge.
Cool. I think some of my highlights started coming when other people joined my internship team. So we're up to 4 of us now working on this project. And some of my favorite days have been when we go out and we do just kind of like data collection together. We did a series of surveys at halal markets around Portland, and we just drove around for the day with our questionnaire and stopped in and introduced ourselves to people and just had our list of questions for them. We met a lot of really wonderful people and gathered a lot of very important information doing that. And then we also got to visit a goat farm up in Monroe, Maine together and just kind of learn about how they incorporate goat meat production into their business model. And we got to meet their goats and eat some ice cream and sit in the grass and had a wonderful time just driving up there and back. So I think the days that we spend like collaborating on our work are the most fun.
So, well, I didn't get to eat ice cream. So, top 2, I mean, 1, getting a job offer. That's absolutely a highlight, right? You come out of college knowing you have a position lined up is a very relaxing feeling. And, you know, it kills a lot of those nerves that you have thinking is college a waste. Other than that, I gotta say, getting my machine to run for the first time and actually seeing it work was definitely a highlight. You know, when you are designing a machine and using component selection, you definitely have trial and error. You know, I blew a $200 pneumatic drive the first time I used it. It happens. But, you know, understanding and seeing your machine work for the first time was definitely a huge highlight for me.
My biggest highlight was working with students over the summer. When we're organizing a lot of those summer coding camps, it seemed very stressful, but then when it was actually happening, it was really a relief, and seeing the kids enjoy themselves and learn a lot of things was, it was a big highlight.
My biggest highlight was probably like looking at like actually being able to see the data that I collected. Because part of my project was like staining different proteins in different tissues within the mice. And so to image them, we would have to go like downstairs to the basement to this microscope that was in a closet because it had to be in the dark. And you just see all the proteins like light up on the screen. And it was really cool to know that I had stained that and made the image. So it was just something I could point at and be like, wow, I did that.
Yeah, cool. So whether you're a current student or an alum, how has the internship experience shaped your future academic or professional direction?
We're going this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
It has changed what I thought I was going to do. I didn't originally think I was going to go into research, but now I'm a graduate student at the Rue Institute studying for my master's in biotechnology, and I'm hoping to get an industry lab job. And without this internship, I wouldn't have known or had the skills to know that I wanted to go into research and into the biotechnology community.
I don't think I mentioned this before, but I'm an IT management student, and getting this internship, it opened me up to a lot of connections within the tech industry, knowing about the tech industry in Maine, what other different companies do, and knowing people from there. And I feel like that helped me a lot because even though it was a non-technical role, but building those networks was really useful for me because I am a STEM major at the end of the day. So
Absolutely. I'm still living and breathing my MEIF internship. I still work at Emma Tech where I had interned. It's definitely changed the entire course of my professional and career for the future. You know, I had gotten a degree in mechanical engineering. You know, working on like vehicles and machines has always been my strong suit. But now with the manufacturing and materials specifically, I'm actually pursuing a master's in metallurgical engineering, which will be likely sponsored and somewhat paid for by the company I work for. So I owe that all to the internship.
Let's see. I don't know. I might want to go into research at some point. Who knows? I might pursue a PhD eventually. It's kind of tough to say how it's impacted me. I think I've just loved researching the topic that I'm working on. And I tend to really love what I do, kind of no matter what it is. I get really into like these very specific subjects. But it showed me that I also do have the capacity to, you know, help create meaningful solutions and, or like, you know, help to be a part of the solution in some way. So yeah, it really has a really broad impact, but in general, I've just really enjoyed what I'm doing, and it has added a lot to, you know, my graduate school experience.
So I would say that my summer internship impacted me in ways that I was totally not expecting at all. While I did gain a lot of confidence in the lab, just being able to put my hands on something and not be nervous about it. Probably the biggest impact was on the environment I was in, just walking in and not being terrified, but just knowing that everyone wants the best for you, and knowing that it made me really excited for going into my future career path. I plan on going into the field of medicine, which is also really male dominated. So seeing a woman in a position of power like that and being really well respected and in an environment that was really progressive and felt like everyone's input was super valued. And yeah, I think it just made me really excited about the future.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So I know we're getting close to time, but I do just such good experience here. So for any students on the call or in the room who may be hesitating about whether or not to pursue an internship during their time at USM, what would you say to them?
I say go for it. It's awesome. It was really scary, especially I'm taking 5 STEM classes right now. I work like it's really intimidating signing up for something that isn't mandatory, but what I've gotten from that internship experience and the one I'm in right now is just out of this world. Like I say, go for it.
I would say reach out to your academic advisors, whoever you feel like matches your interests most, because they can oftentimes network you to where you want to be. That's how I got mine. I just reached out to one of my advisors, and this internship sort of just like landed in my hands a week later. So don't feel like you have to look for one on your own if you're not sure what to look for.
Yeah, basically there are 2 answers combined into one. I mean, you know, the college gives you the tools that you need in order to be successful. It's up to you to drive that success and use those tools to find your passion and see what you got, you know, what you like to pursue. And, you know, and an internship is a great way to find out, you know, if what you're actually studying and what you're pursuing is even what you like doing. So I'd say if you're on the fence, you know, go for it and make sure that it's what you want to be, you know, doing for the rest of your life.
I'll say you really have to. I don't think it's much of an option during these times. I feel like being in college and in class can only teach you so much. You really actually have to be in the real world to apply what you're learning in class. So taking advantage of the time you have during the summer or during the academic year, the fact that you have your own college is paying you to participate in something like this, and for it to be year long, I feel like you don't really come across opportunities like this in the state of Maine. So it's not really an option. You actually have to do it. It's for your own good.
Yeah, and I just say, just apply, because like the worst they can say is no. And even if they do say no, USM has all the resources to find you an internship eventually. So you'll always find the experience that you need and go on the path that you need to take.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you to all of you for sharing your experience. Really wonderful to have you here. So yeah, thank you.